All stand.
In the Crown Court today, there's a conflict between two very different ways of life, represented by two generations of a family. The plaintiff being sworn in now is Lance Porter, one of the great names in pop music. He's seeking a declaration that his father, the Reverend Fortescue Porter, a country vicar, obtained from him by fraud the copyright of a musical work. Because of this allegation of fraud, the case is being heard before a jury. Lance Porter is represented by Mr. Jonathan Fry, QC.
Is your name Lancelot Ashley Porter?
Yes.
And you live at Grangefield Manor, Weybridge in Surrey?
I did when this action was put down for hearing. I moved last month into an hotel.
But does Grangefield Manor remain your property?
I'm trying to sell it if I can find a buyer. It's a very large house. I can't afford to live there any longer.
We'll come to that in a moment. What is your occupation, Mr. Porter?
I'm a musician.
And do you have any special training in that field?
I won a scholarship to the Royal College of Music and studied there for a diploma.
Did you complete that course of study?
No.
Why was that?
I decided it was time to make a living.
Didn't you feel you'd be better qualified for that if you had received a diploma?
Not necessarily, no. You see, my original interest was in what you might call serious music, but I soon realized I wasn't cut out for that.
What exactly were you studying at the college? Musical composition or one particular instrument?
Both, my lord. I studied the piano and the organ. My father was particularly keen on that. I think it was his ambition that I should end up as a cathedral organist.
In fact, your subsequent career took a rather different direction, didn't it?
Yes, some of the other students and myself got together a group to play at dances and so on, and we started to experiment. I found out that what I was really interested in was progressive rock.
Did you say progressive rock?
A kind of music, my lord.
Yes, indeed, but what kind, Mr. Fry?
Without going into technicalities,
I suppose the main characteristic is the strong underlying beat. The tone colors and harmonies, of course, can vary a great deal, but there is this basic rhythmic feeling. Afro-Cuban, I suppose. I'm afraid it's a bit difficult to explain.
It's easier to recognize than describe, as someone once said about the elephant.
the point I was trying to make, my lord, is that this music is secular rather than ecclesiastic.
I rather thought so, Mr. Fry.
And were those songs recorded and offered for sale?
Yes, I was very lucky. One of the recording companies got interested, and after a couple of singles, they decided to put out an album. That was when I decided to chuck the college and go full-time.
And what, roughly speaking, have been the financial benefits to you?
From the first album?
I mean, on average, your earnings as a songwriter.
Well, it was a steady living for about 3 years. 5,000 a year, I suppose. That was before things really took off.
What caused them to take off?
Well, in spring of 1970, I was approached by a theatrical management in London who were very keen to do a musical on a religious subject.
A musical play?
Yes. There'd been a couple of very successful ones on Broadway, and they were prepared to put up a great deal of money. They were convinced they were going to make a profit.
And did they, Mr. Porter?
Yes, they certainly did.
When the idea of a musical play based on a religious theme was first discussed, did you say anything about this to your father?
Yes, of course, on several occasions. In May, June 1970. I wanted his help in choosing a subject. I mean, he does know far more about the Bible than I do. The crucifixion had already been done, and Joseph and his brethren and the 12 disciples, and there really didn't seem much left.
What subject did you eventually decide on?
The Nativity.
And what title did you give this work?
It was called Jesus Baby, with a comma and an exclamation mark, my lord.
Did you discuss this subject with your father, as you said, in mid-1970?
Yes.
Did he object to it?
No, not at all.
Was this work produced on the London stage?
Yes, with great success, and in Rome, Paris, and New York. A film version was made last year.
And what have been the financial benefits to you?
None whatever.
Why is that, Mr. Porter?
I entered into an agreement with my father. I assigned the entire copyright over to him.
What was the effect of that agreement?
All the performing rights and royalties in the play and in the records of the music were to go to him, every penny. He became the owner. I had no claims on it at all.
Was this before or after the play Jesus Baby was first performed?
While I was writing it.
Now, if we look at page 1 of the agreed bundle of documents, we see there, do we not, the assignment? It's undated.
Yes.
How was this agreement with your father made?
I phoned him up and told him what I was thinking of doing.
When did you telephone? Can you remember?
I think it was January the 24th, 1971.
And then what did you do?
I went to see him at the vicarage.
When was that?
February the 1st.
1971?
Yes.
And what did you say to him?
I said I wanted to give him the copyright of the musical I was writing.
You'd already written much of it by then.
Yes.
Did you tell him why you wanted to do this?
Yes, I explained that there were several reasons. The most important being that he'd paid for my education, and it seemed like a good way of giving him something in return.
How much had your education cost?
I don't know. A few thousand, I suppose. And I'm sure he thought it had been wasted, so it seemed like a good idea. I did point out that I might be giving him something completely worthless. I was a complete gambler at this stage. Rather like giving him a ticket in a raffle.
Did you discuss the possibility that you might be giving him the winning ticket?
Yes. He said he hoped the show would be a success because there were several things that needed doing in the parish. A new roof for the church hall, that sort of thing. Yes, I don't actually think that he quite grasped what a lot of money might be involved. I mean, neither did I at this stage. We were talking in terms of, I don't know, £5,000.
Not $250,000.
No. I did point out, though, that there might be a great deal more than either of us imagined. I read somewhere that Agatha Christie had assigned the copyright of Mousetrap to somebody. I don't know, I think her grandson. Nobody could have foreseen how long that would run.
Was there any further discussion of the possibility that it might be a success on the scale of the Mousetrap?
Yes. I said that if my play ran for as long as the Mousetrap, and for some reason I found myself broke, then I'd expect him to help me out. Besides, he might need a bit of money himself one day. So I said that he wasn't to give the copyright away, and if it made money, he wasn't to spend it all on the village hall or give it away to Oxfam or Christian Aid or something like that.
And what was his reply to that?
Well, he said a gift with conditions attached wasn't a gift. And I said that I wasn't asking for any promises, I just wanted to know what he had in mind.
And what did he say?
He said he wouldn't dream of giving the copyright away, and he agreed that it would be sensible if it made any money to keep a bit for ourselves. I said that he should keep a sizable chunk, because in the music business, success can disappear overnight.
What was his comment on that?
He said he thought it was very unlikely, but of course he'd never let me starve.
Now, was any limit set to the amount of money that he would give you if you found yourself in need?
No, I mean, because at this stage, as I said, we didn't know how much was going to be involved.
Was anybody else present at this interview?
Yes, Mr. Plenderbooth.
Who's he?
He manages my financial affairs, contracts, income tax, and so on. I'm not very good at that sort of thing.
Was anything said about the legal aspect of what you were preparing to do?
Mr. Plenderbooth said that we ought to see a solicitor first, take legal advice so that we got the wording right.
And did you take that advice?
Yes, apparently it was quite simple. We went to see Father again the following week.
By we, you mean you and Mr. Plenderbooth?
Yes. He wrote out the assignment on a piece of paper, I signed it and gave it to Father.
Now, will you look at the first document in the agreed bundle of documents on page 1? Is that the assignment?
Yes, it just says that I am assigning the copyright in Jesus Baby entirely and irrevocably to him.
You did not put a date on the piece of paper?
No, my lord.
Mr. Porter, would you have given your father this copyright if you had known that he would give it all away?
Oh, no, I wanted some benefit from it from him and myself.
Now, let's move on a year or two after the play had been produced and become an international success. Did you at any time remind your father of this conversation with him in February of 1971?
Yes. I went to see him on April the 12th of last year. I pointed out that he'd made an unexpected fortune out of Jesus Baby and that I was absolutely broke. I was in every sort of trouble with the tax authorities and I was having to sell the house to make ends meet.
Why was this, Mr. Porter?
Well, The most extraordinary thing. As I said, before I wrote this play, I was making quite a good living out of my songs, $5,000 a year. And afterwards, when it was such a success, I got all sorts of offers. And somehow, nothing I wrote seemed to be any good at all. I wrote another play and spent a great deal of my own money in promoting it, making demonstration records, that sort of thing. I don't know whether I just lost my talent or whether it was a change in fashion. Anyway, it turned out that the only money-making thing I'd ever written or was ever likely to write was Jesus Baby. And I'd given that away to my father, so naturally I went to see him.
And did you ask him to honor the understanding that had been reached?
Yes, I didn't put it quite as formally as that. I asked him to let me have £10,000.
What was his reply?
He said he didn't have the money to give me. He'd use the copyright to set up a charitable trust, and most of the proceeds had gone on various charitable projects.
The whole $250,000?
Well, I don't think it amounted to that much at that stage, but it was certainly more than 100,000.
Did the Reverend Mr. Porter say what he'd been doing with this money?
He mentioned renovating the church and building a new church hall, but I think that most of it had gone into some charitable trust or other.
At all events, it was not available to you.
No, he made that quite clear. Treated me rather like the prodigal son, the only difference being that there wasn't going to be any fatted calf.
Did he say why he'd given the copyright away?
Yes, he gave me quite a lecture. He said that the money had been got by exploiting the Bible story. Perverting it, I think is what he actually said. And the only way to redress the balance was by using it for God's work.
Did he express any opinion on the quality of the play itself?
Yes, he said it was nauseating.
Had he seen it?
Oh, no, I don't think so. But that wouldn't make any difference. He's always expressing strong opinions on things he knows nothing about.
Now, you said that when the idea of a musical play based on a religious theme was first brought up in mid-1970, your father raised no objections.
No, on the contrary, he was quite enthusiastic about it. Mind you, he probably thought it was going to be the sort of thing that would get put on at Christmas in church halls with all the little kiddies dressed as angels, that sort of thing.
Why do you suppose he later took such a violent dislike to it without having seen it?
Well, I think somebody had seen it and told him all about it. Well, in fact, I know she had, because she came in while Father and I were talking and started making all kinds of snide remarks.
Who do you mean by she?
Mrs. Harper Frost. She's the sort of queen bee in Father's parish, sits on all the committees and gets up bazaars and that sort of thing. I think she'd been to London to see the show and had given Father a really lurid account of it. She's very keen on purity. I mean, if somebody says damn on television, she starts ringing up the Daily Telegraph and that sort of thing. I don't think Jesus would have been her cup of tea at all.
So you think this lady had influenced your father with her opinions?
Yes, I'm sure of it. I mean, even before she'd seen the show. I think that my father told her about my telephone call in January, and before I went to see him, they had the whole thing worked out. I think they were going to use every penny, if it made money, to what Mrs. Harper Frost would consider good works.
Now, you said that at that interview, in the presence of your business manager, Mr. Plenderbooth, your father said that he intended to keep the copyright and attenuate some of the royalties in case you or he ever found yourselves in need. Is it your case that he never intended to honor that agreement?
Yes. I think he was deliberately deceiving me. I think he'd made up his mind that the money was somehow tainted, and it didn't really matter who he gave the money to, as long as it didn't come back to the person who'd earned it. Me.
Mr. Fry, I think it would help us all to know what is the position of the trustees who are now the owners of the copyright.
The position, my lord, is that they have agreed to be bound by the outcome of these proceedings. Then if the fraud is established, they will reassign the copyright to the plaintiff together with any of the proceeds still in their hands. They will not, however, have to account for any of the monies already spent.
They have agreed that to save the expense of further proceedings, of third-party proceedings.
Yes, my lord.
Very sensible. Thank you, Mr. Fry. Very well, Mr. Lotterby.
Mr. Porter, you said in your evidence in chief that this musical play of yours, Jesus Baby, was not the usual kind of nativity play that one might expect to see performed in a village hall. Now, for the benefit of those of us unfortunates who have not seen the play, could you describe what sort of thing it was?
Yes, it was an unconventional treatment of the theme.
Yes, well, can you elaborate on that?
Well, for a start, it was set in the present day. We didn't feel it would be quite right to have the contemporary music and people going around in costumes of naught AD.
In some cases, were there no costumes at all?
Where appropriate, yes. The angels didn't wear anything. How would you dress a contemporary angel?
And how closely did the plot resemble the Bible story?
Well, in my view, very closely. Everyone had to find parallels, of course. There aren't many mangers around these days. So we had Joseph and Mary as squatters in an unoccupied office building in the underground car park.
Yes, I see. And did a large number of people take offense at this treatment of the theme?
A few did. The sort of people who take offense at anything.
Yes, well, it wasn't the kind of entertainment that your father, for instance, would have appreciated.
If he'd taken the trouble to see it, he might have understood what I was getting at.
You said you made him a gift of the copyright for various reasons.
That's right.
But you only mentioned one, that you wanted to reimburse him for the cost of your education.
Yes.
But you had a scholarship to the Royal College of Music, did you not? And a full maintenance grant from the local education authority.
Yes.
So your father didn't pay for the major part of your musical education. Now, what were the other reasons, Mr. Porter?
I suppose I just wanted to give him something.
At that time, were you in comfortable financial circumstances?
Yes, as I said, I was earning about $5,000 a year. I went up and down a bit, but that would be the average.
And Mr. Plenderbooth was looking after your financial arrangements?
Yes, I took him on about that time.
Why did you decide to employ this business manager?
Well, I hadn't been very clever with my money. Whenever I'd had a successful record, I didn't always put enough aside for tax.
Or were you in trouble with the Inland Revenue?
No, nothing serious, no. But I thought I ought to have somebody to look after that side of things, and he was recommended to me by some friends in the business. And after a few months, he got everything straightened out.
You put your financial affairs entirely in his hands?
Yes.
And fell in with any arrangements he proposed?
It seemed the best thing to do, yes.
And was one of these arrangements suggested by Mr. Plenterbooth that you should assign the copyright in Jesus Baby to your father?
Yes, I believe it was his idea, basically. It wouldn't have occurred to me, but it did seem like a good idea.
In order to save tax?
No, I said I wanted to give my father something, and Mr. Plenderbooth suggested arranging the copyright, and he assured me there was nothing illegal in the arrangement. Look, honestly, there is no point in asking me about this. I left all that to him.
Yes, but you would know, would you not, that your father, as a clergyman on a modest stipend, would be paying a lower rate of tax on the copyright income than a successful songwriter like yourself.
Look, if you're suggesting it was some kind of
Oh,
fiddle...
please don't misunderstand me, Mr. Porter. It may well be that your intention was to make a generous gift to your father, but one effect of this arrangement would be that considerably less tax would be taken by the Inland Revenue. That's all I was trying to
Lord, I don't want to interrupt my learned friend, but he may be giving the impression that there was something reprehensible in this arrangement.
Yes, of course, Mr. Fry. I think I should tell members of the jury the law makes a very clear distinction between the evasion of tax, which is a criminal offence, and the avoidance of tax, which is not. A man is perfectly entitled to arrange his affairs so that he pays as little income tax as possible, provided he does it in a legal way.
I'm obliged to your lordship.
Of course, I was not implying that there was anything improper in this arrangement, so long as it was intended that the Reverend Mr. Porter should keep the money or dispose of it in any way he chose. But the question is, was that the whole reason?
Yes. Apart from what I've already said.
You were, in fact, using your father, weren't you?
What do you mean by that?
Well, you were using him, firstly, to avoid paying a large amount of tax at a time when, as you've said, you were in trouble with the Inland Revenue. And secondly, you were using him as a kind of bank on which you could draw out any amount at any time. Now, wasn't that the real object of the exercise?
That is not true. It was meant as an outright gift to give him a bit of extra income so that he could do the things in the parish that needed doing.
Now, why didn't you give him cash? In that way, you could have set a limit to the amount.
Well, in the first place, I didn't have any. And there was another reason. My father has never shown any understanding or even interest, come to that, in what I've been trying to do. Now, look, I don't expect him to appreciate my pop songs. But when I wrote this play, I thought there might just be a possibility that he would see that I was trying to do, in my own way, what he'd been trying to do all his life. Make the Gospels into something alive, into something that has meaning now.
Complete with nude angels and the infant Jesus in a garage.
Oh, dear. There's nothing new in that. All the paintings of the Nativity are in modern dress, or in what was modern dress when they were painted. All the Madonnas by the Italian and Flemish painters are wearing perfectly ordinary costumes of the period, not fancy dress. That's why people believed in the Bible characters in those days. They recognized them as people like themselves.
From the newspapers, you know, it would appear that a good many people thought that your motives were purely commercial and sensational.
And that was very stupid of them.
Yes, you wrote the play out of deep religious conviction, did you?
I wrote it because it was commissioned by a very rich and influential management. And having agreed to take it on, I wrote it as well as I could, because I think it's a great and a moving story, and I wanted to do justice to it. I was perfectly sincere in my intentions, and I wanted my father to appreciate that fact. We've had a few misunderstandings, and I thought it might draw us closer together. That is why I made him a present of the play.
But this was suggested, was it not, by Mr. Plenderbooth? Now, do you suppose that his reasons were quite so altruistic?
All I know is that when he suggested I give the copyright in the play to my father, I agreed, gladly.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Porter. No further questions.
Do you wish to re-examine the plaintiff, Mr. Fry?
Lord, Mr. Porter, it's been suggested that the object of this arrangement was to secure certain tax advantages. Was that your understanding of the matter?
Honestly, it didn't occur to me.
Your only purpose was to help your father and to create a better understanding between you.
Yes.
From that point of view, was the arrangement a success?
Well, from the point of view of helping him financially, yes, of course it was. I'm sorry to say that we're no closer to understanding each other than we were before.
Thank you, that's all. Does your lordship have any questions?
Oh, no. Very well. You may leave the box, Mr. Porter.
I call Charles Henry Plenderbooth.
I swear by Almighty God that the evidence I shall give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Is your name Charles Henry Plenderbooth?
Yes, that is correct.
And do you live at 12 Belgrave Street, London Southwest 1?
Yes, I do.
How would you describe your occupation, Mr. Plenderbooth?
I'm a director of several companies in the entertainment business.
And what is your connection with the plaintiff, Mr. Lance Porter?
I'm a director of several companies, of which he is a co-director.
Several.
Yes, there's Porter Booth Productions, Lance International, Plenderland Projects. They're all limited companies engaged in the exploitation of Mr. Porter's talents.
Would it be correct to describe you as his business manager?
Well, I prefer the term business advisor.
At the end of 1970 and the beginning of 1971, when he was engaged in writing the script and composing the music for a play called Jesus Baby, did you give him certain advice about disposing of the royalties?
Yes, he said that he wanted to make some provision for his father, a gentleman in holy orders. So I suggested that the copyright in this religious work might make an appropriate gift.
What was Mr. Porter's reaction?
Well, he liked the idea very much.
And what did you think of the arrangement?
To be honest, I thought it would be very good publicity.
As his business advisor, did you think that Mr. Porter was in a position to renounce all the income from this play?
Well, financially, he was in a very healthy position. I mean, quite frankly, I would have preferred him to go on writing songs. I mean, if you write a pop song and it turns out no good, well, what have you wasted, half an hour? But a play is different. You have to attend conferences and rehearsals and take people out to lunch. It can be 6 months' work for nothing. Now, I was getting a great deal of interest from the States. Several of the big stars liked his numbers. There could have been a fortune in it. But no, he had to go and write this play.
If you'd foreseen that the play would be so successful, would you have allowed him to give away the rights?
Well, unfortunately, I wasn't interested in the play. I thought he'd go on writing these money-making songs. And if it made him happy to mess around in the theatre at the same time, well, why not?
You've no means of telling whether the play would be a success?
Well, I thought it was going to be a real 22-carat flop. I mean to say, a musical with a baby in the lead, who needs it? Now, I thought that I was a pretty good judge of public taste, but how do you know these days? I thought the boy was giving away nothing. And look what happened.
The case of Porter against Porter will be resumed tomorrow in the Crown Court. Day 2 in the case of Porter versus Porter. Lance Porter, composer of the fabulously successful pop musical Jesus Baby, is suing his father, the Reverend Fortescue Porter, to whom he made an outright gift of the copyright in the play, which produced royalties of £250,000. Lance alleges that before the gift was made, his father told him he would not give the copyright away and would keep back some of the royalties in case Lance or he were ever short of money, but that his father entered fraudulently into this understanding without any intention of carrying it out. Yesterday, we heard that the copyright had in fact been given away to a charity. Giving evidence at the moment is Lance's business advisor, Mr. Charles Plenderbooth.
And did you and Mr. Lance Porter subsequently visit his father?
Yes, it was on the 1st of February. We went up by train to Fulchester, took a taxi to the vicarage at Little Walmsley. We all had lunch together.
Would you describe the meeting as friendly?
Well, not particularly. The Reverend and I didn't have very much in common. You might say it was difficult to find subjects of conversation.
And did you discuss his son's musical career?
Well, I tried to, but I don't think the vicar was very interested. I got the impression that he thought that pop songs were just a load of old rubbish.
Do you talk about the play at all?
Well, Lance did. He tried to explain his ideas for giving a new twist to the Bible story, to make it more interesting for younger audiences. But I don't think the vicar was really listening. He only livened up when Lance asked him what he was going to do with the money. I mean, I didn't say anything because I didn't think there was going to be any.
Was anything said about the possibility that you might be wrong, that a great deal of money might come in?
Well, naturally, Lance was a great deal more optimistic about that than I was. But he did raise it in a way, yes.
What exactly did he say?
Well, quite a lot was said. I can't remember it all, but I think he said something like, well, you never know. It may run as long as the mousetrap. And if it does, and I'm broke, well, I'll come round for a piece of cheese.
And what was the vicar's reply to that?
Well, he just sat there thinking for a moment, and then he said, don't worry. I won't let you starve.
And after that, was the subject allowed to drop?
Well, no. I can't remember exactly what was said, but Lance was very anxious that his father shouldn't give everything away, either the copyright or the royalties. Well, then his father said he wouldn't dream of giving the copyright away, and that he agreed with Lance that they should keep something back for themselves. Well, at that, Lance was all for assigning the copyright on the spot, but I thought that we ought to look at the legal aspect first.
And did you, in fact, see a lawyer the following week, and did you thereafter pay another visit to the Reverend Mr. Porter?
Yes, we went back on the 8th.
Who wrote out the note assigning the copyright?
I did. I mean, my lawyer had explained that it was quite straightforward. Lance signed it, gave it to his father.
At that meeting, was anything said about the Reverend Mr. Porter's intentions?
Not by the other two. But by then, I'd been doing a bit of thinking myself, and I thought to myself, my God, supposing it does run for 20 years. All that money is going to go on stained glass windows and knitted comforts for the Indians, and the boy won't get a penny. So, after lunch, when Lance was out of the room washing his hands or something, I took his father on one side, and I said to him, look, I don't know much about the church, but wasn't it against gambling on principle?
What did he say to that?
Well, he sort of blinked for a moment and asked me what I was getting at. So I gave it to him straight. I said that if the play made a lot of money, then he'd have an obligation to see Lance all right. I mean, if it hit the jackpot, he ought to share it out, otherwise it would be downright immoral.
How did he react to that?
Well, he said that he didn't think it was up to me to tell him what was immoral and what wasn't. As it happens, he thought the whole project was immoral, meaning Jesus Baby. He thought there ought to be a law against people making money out of that sort of thing, but since there wasn't, the next best thing was to make sure that the money was used for decent purposes. I mean, I tried to explain to him that I was simply looking after his son's interest, but I couldn't get a word in edgeways. He'd made up his mind already and slammed it shut. And this was 2 months before they even started rehearsals.
He appeared already to have formed strong opinions about the play.
Strong? You wouldn't get a critic saying things like he said.
And did you gather if he'd also made up his mind as to what was going to happen to the money?
Yes. He said that he was going to use it, however much it was, on what he called decent purposes. And that, as it turns out, did not include helping his own son, even if he went to him on bended knees.
Thank you. No further questions?
Mr. Plenderbooth, you said that the vicar told his son that he would never let him starve.
Yes, that's correct.
Would you describe Mr. Lance Porter as starving?
Well, now do you mean?
At the time when he went to visit his father on the 12th of April, 1973, would you have described him as being in a state of starvation?
You know, I think he'd been a very unfortunate young man. He'd given away his most profitable asset, and somehow his career had never picked up again.
But he wasn't starving.
Well, relatively, yes. He certainly wasn't making any money, and he'd been spending a great deal.
Why was that?
Well, he was a celebrity. He'd written this show that had been a sensation all over the world. I mean, what do you expect him to do? Sit in a bedsitter eating bread and jam? Listen, in our business, if you live like a failure, you are a failure.
He was living, in fact, beyond his means.
He didn't have any means. That's what I'm trying to tell you. He'd put all his heart and soul into Jesus, baby, and he wasn't getting a penny out of it. Don't you see what that had done to him? He'd used up all his talent. And now, he's nothing. Nobody wants to hear about him.
Well, I must say a rather different impression was given in the first newspaper reports of this case. He still appears to be very well known.
Oh, well, that's another thing about our business. There are plenty of people who are well known, but does it get them work? Like somebody once said, you can be famous for being famous, but it doesn't pay the rent.
So you're telling us that Lance Porter is in reduced circumstances?
He's had to get rid of everything. The big expensive house, the 2 cars. He's even considering getting rid of me.
No doubt be a considerable sacrifice.
Well, make no difference to me. I mean, what's 25% of nothing?
Is that your regular commission, 25%?
We have different arrangements for different projects. I've set up a number of companies on Mr. Porter's behalf.
Oh, yes, a whole battery of them. At all events, you have a considerable stake in his financial future, do you not?
Well, I want him to make money, yes.
Including as much of this £250,000 as he can lay his hands on.
Now, just a moment. If his father wants to give it back, then that is a matter between the two of them.
And the Inland Revenue, perhaps.
I don't know anything about the Inland Revenue.
Oh, don't you? Oh, here was I thinking that you were responsible for Mr. Porter's tax affairs.
What I mean is that I don't know where we stand with regard to this particular item. And presumably the vicar has paid his income tax. But it's no use asking me about it.
The witness is quite right, Mr. Lotterby.
Yes, my lord. Mr. Plentybuth, let's indulge in a little fantasy, shall we? Now, suppose that A writes a play and gives away the entire copyright to B, who, by reason of having a lower income, will pay a lower rate of tax on the profits from it. Now, if this tax is paid and B keeps what remains, has any law been broken?
No, not that I can see.
No, but supposing B then gives this sum back to A, who thus retains a much larger slice than he would have done if he'd paid tax on it at his own higher rate, would you say that an offence had then been committed?
The tax authorities might think so, yes.
Yes, I think they might. And wasn't this the arrangement you had in mind, Mr. Plentybuth, when you suggested to Mr. Lance Porter that he should give away, or appear to give away, the copyright?
That is the most outrageous thing I've ever heard.
Yes, and the vicar thought so too, which is why he refused to fall in with your ingenious plan.
Nothing of the kind was put to him. Now, I don't like to call a gentleman of the cloth a liar, but really.
So if he says that, he's a liar, is he?
If that is what he says, then yes.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Plentybuth. That's all.
Do you wish to re-examine the witness, Mr. Pryor?
Yes, my lord. Mr. Plentybuth, when my learned friend outlined this nefarious scheme just now, he was careful to describe it as a fantasy. If we accept it as such, as something purely theoretical, would you say that such a scheme required a considerable degree of mutual trust between the participants?
Oh, yes, it would, of course.
And would you say that such a degree of mutual trust existed between Mr. Lance Porter and his father, the vicar?
No, I certainly would not.
Thank you, that's all. You may go. That concludes the case for the plaintiff, my lord.
Thank you. How many witnesses are you proposing to call, Mr. Lotterby?
Only two, my lord. My client first, the Reverend Mr. Porter, and then Mrs. Hazel Harper Frost.
Well, in that case, I think this might be a convenient moment to adjourn.
All stand. Name Fortescue Beresford Porter?
As it is.
And you live at the vicarage, Little Walmsley, near Fulchester?
I do.
What is your occupation?
I'm a clerk in Holy Orders.
Are you married, Mr. Porter?
My wife died 20 years ago. I have one son, Lancelot, who's the plaintiff in this case.
Do you remember your son telling you about a theatrical project, a musical play to be based on the Nativity?
Yes, I think the first I heard of it was that he'd been commissioned to write a play on an unspecified biblical subject. We discussed several possibilities. I believe it was I who suggested the Nativity.
And was the play eventually produced under the title Jesus Baby?
Yes, it was, and the title certainly wasn't my suggestion. I find it unspeakably distasteful.
Have you in fact seen the play or the film?
Oh, I prefer not to. The reviews in the newspapers and the musical excerpts on the wireless have been a sufficient indication of its quality.
Nevertheless, you were, in a manner of speaking, the owner of this play.
Yes, but I must stress that when I accepted ownership, as you call it, I had no idea it was such a degraded entertainment.
Do you now regret having accepted the copyright?
Oh, in some ways, yes. It's resulted in a great deal of unpleasant publicity for me personally, and I think some of my parishioners were deeply shocked that I should have anything to do with such an enterprise. But then, God moves in strange ways sometimes. It may have been a personal humiliation to me, but the proceeds from the play have certainly benefited a great number of good causes.
We've heard that you assigned the copyright to a charitable trust that you set up. When did you make that assignment?
In January, the 24th of January, 1972, just a year after he first telephoned.
Why did you do that?
Well, I knew a little more about the entertainment then, and I thought it better to give it to the charity lock, stock, and barrel.
Now, when the copyright of the play was assigned to you, did you have any idea of the amount of money that might be involved?
No, absolutely none.
Why do you think your son made this gift to you?
Oh, I think he felt an obligation to me to repay me. He knew how deeply disappointed I was that he hadn't put his talents to better use, and as a result of that, I'm afraid we'd rather lost touch with one another. I think he wanted to make a gesture.
Now, at the end of January 1971, your son telephoned you and told you his intentions.
Yeah.
Then he and Mr. Plenderbooth visited you on two occasions, on the 1st and on the 8th of February 1971.
Yeah.
Now, on which of these two occasions did your son make the assignment?
The first.
Now, was there any discussion at that first meeting about what you would do with the copyright?
No, none at all, because it didn't occur to me that it would have any value.
Now, what happened on the second meeting, on the 8th of February? In the course of that meeting, was anything said about the possibility that the play might make a great deal of money?
Yes, I believe it was mentioned because my son put it to me in a half-joking way that he may have to borrow some of the money back if he was starving.
Is that the word he used, borrow?
Oh, to the best of my recollection, yes.
What was your reply?
Well, I said that naturally I'd never let him starve.
And in your view, did that constitute a solemn and binding promise to let him have whatever he wanted on demand?
Oh, no, certainly not. It's the sort of thing anybody might say, just a vague sort of statement, not a promise, no.
And later, after lunch, was there a conversation between you and Mr. Plenderbooth?
Yes. He buttonholed me in what I thought was a rather disagreeable way, and he pointed out that his job was to look after my son's financial interests. He said he couldn't just stand by and watch him give away a fortune. He implied that for me to keep the money would be somehow immoral.
What did you say to that?
I said that perhaps I was a better judge of what was immoral and what wasn't. I suppose it was uncharitable of me, but I hadn't formed a very good impression of Mr. Plenderbooth during luncheon. He seemed to be exclusively preoccupied with the commercial side of things. Somehow I instinctively distrusted him.
Did he say anything to confirm that distrust?
Yes, he said that the gift of the proceeds from the play was only a temporary one, that Lancelot would be entitled to have the money back whenever he asked for it.
Well, in that case, did he explain why the gift had been made at all?
Yes, he described it as a tax arrangement.
Did that meet with your approval?
No, it sounded as though I was being asked to take part in something that wasn't quite legal.
Did you say so to Mr. Plenderbooth?
No, my son came back at that moment, and I didn't discuss the matter any further with either of them. I'd already made up my mind what to do.
And what was that, Mr. Porter?
Well, from the legal point of view, the copyright had been given to me as an outright gift to do with as I pleased. Now, if my son really needed financial help, I might very well lend him or even give him some of the money back. But first I'd have to satisfy myself that his need was greater than that of some of the deserving causes I already had in mind. And then, later on, I decided it would be best, in fact, to give the copyright to the charitable trust.
Did he, in fact, later on ask you for money?
Yes, he came to see me in April of last year and asked for £10,000.
And did he appear to be in need?
Well, he said he was, but he arrived in a very large and expensive-looking motor car.
Did he ask you for the money as a loan or as a gift?
He simply said he needed it at once.
And what did you think of this request?
Well, I told him that the money was in the charitable trust, and much of it was already spent. I couldn't give it to him even if I wanted to, which is true.
Mr. Porter, when you refused to give money to your son, did you in any way feel that you were breaking a solemn undertaking or doing something deceitful?
No, I've already told you I entered into no such undertaking.
So it would be completely wrong to suggest that before the gift was made to you, you had made a solemn statement as to your intentions which you did not propose to carry out.
It would not only be wrong, sir, it would be iniquitous.
You deny that you practiced the fraud upon your son.
Yes, I deny it, absolutely.
Thank you, Mr. Porter.
Mr. Porter, how often do you go to the theatre?
Oh, I haven't been to the theatre for years. My wife used to enjoy musical comedy. We'd go together if there was anything suitable.
Yes, but that was 20 years ago. We're not living in the days of Ivan Novello anymore. Did you know that there had been other musical plays based on Bible stories apart from the one written by your son?
Well, I know very little of these things.
Jesus Christ Superstar, Godspell, Joseph in the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat.
I'm afraid I'm not familiar with these works.
Well, will you accept it from me that they are all stories which treat the Bible in a modern way, a way that you might not necessarily approve of, but which has won the approval of some of the more liberal-minded leaders of the church?
If you say so, yes. I can only express my own judgment on this particular entertainment.
Without having seen it?
Oh, but I've heard quite enough of it, and heard enough from those who have seen it to form my own opinion.
Mr. Fry, I don't think the merits or demerits of this particular piece are the subject at issue here.
Possibly not, my lord, but what is important is the precise date at which Mr. Porter formed his judgment of the play.
Then perhaps you had better ask him that, Mr. Fry.
Well, Mr. Porter, when your son gave you the piece of paper assigning you the copyright, had you already formed your opinion?
But I knew very little about it at that time.
And when he and Mr. Planderbooth first came to see you, had you made your mind up then?
That was some time before the production of the play. How could I have formed an opinion of it?
I'm asking you, Mr. Porter, had your son said anything about his treatment of the play that might have prejudiced you against it?
Well, he certainly hadn't said anything about naked angels and underground car parks, no.
And if he had done so, what would you have said?
I would have done my best to dissuade him from profaning the gospel in that way.
He was already engaged in writing the script and composing the music. Didn't it occur to you to ask to see a copy?
But why should it?
Well, because by February 1971, you were already the owner of this property.
I was the owner of a piece of paper, that was all. It was quite possible the play would never be produced at all, or might be withdrawn after one or two performances. I certainly didn't look on it as a property, as you call it.
But it did belong to you, and you found it a rather embarrassing acquisition.
Well, it was later that it became embarrassing.
Rather like inheriting a brothel.
Well, if you care to put it that way, yes, it was. And if I found myself in that position, I'd take immediate steps to get rid of it.
But you didn't send the assignment back, did you? Or decline the offer?
No.
Why was that?
Because I thought that if it did make a few £100s, it could be put to some useful purposes.
So whatever the sum involved, you'd already decided to give it all to charity.
Well, it was mine. It had been given to me to dispose of as I wished.
And this didn't include supporting your son if you became rich as a result and he ended up without a penny.
Oh, you know, this really is preposterous. Does my son look as if he's without a penny? I could take you to the poor quarters here in Fulchester and show you 1,000 more deserving cases. In other countries, there are tens of thousands, millions. 2/3 of the world's population don't get enough to eat.
There's a rather overworked saying, Mr. Porter, that charity begins at home.
Well, it emphatically does not begin by taking £10,000 earmarked for the poor and giving it to someone who can afford to stay in the best hotels, who's about to dispose of his house, no doubt at an enormous profit, who can employ the services of a business manager. No, I'm sorry. I can't accept this picture of Lancelot as some sort of down and out. He's 25 years old, he has a great, if misused, talent, and I'm quite sure that his capacity for earning is undiminished, whatever Mr. Plenderbooth might say.
As a cathedral organist, for example?
He could do a great deal worse.
Would you think more highly of your son if he abandoned his career in the entertainment world and took up serious music once again?
Well, certainly I would, if he's still capable of such a thing.
And you'd do anything in your power to encourage him in such a course?
Yes, I think I would.
Including withholding from him money that he had earned on your behalf?
But I've already explained the money is in a charitable trust and much of it is already spent.
Yes, but supposing that more comes in, it's perfectly possible that the earnings of Jesus Baby will go on for years.
If my son really needs financial help, I'm not saying I'll deny it to him under all circumstances.
In what conditions would you give it to him, Mr. Porter?
Well, I'd have to satisfy myself that he really was in need, which at the moment I beg leave to doubt.
Yes, and what other conditions would you make?
I'd have to be quite sure that in future he'd use his talents for the greater glory of God and not for writing trash of the kind we've been discussing.
And you've held that view from the very beginning, haven't you? From the start of his career as a pop composer. But at that time there was nothing you could do about it.
I expressed my disapproval on numerous occasions.
But there was nothing you could do about it. You were no longer paying for his education or his board and lodging, so you couldn't cut that off. By this time he was self-supporting. Indeed, he was making a great deal more money than you.
Yes, it's rather a reflection on our scale of values, don't you think? I preach the gospel for a pittance. He perverts it for a fortune.
I suggest that when he made that fortune out to you, you saw your opportunity.
Opportunity for what?
Your opportunity for bringing your erring son back into the fold. For punishing him, perhaps, for disobeying you, for taking away the money that was due to Caesar and rendering it unto God.
But the decision to hand the copyright over to me was entirely his.
Yes, but by doing so, he played right into your hands. I suggest that when you received that assignment, it was like the answer to a prayer. It restored you the thing you'd quite lost, your power over your son. It gave you the opportunity to dictate to him.
It did nothing of the kind.
But you will not deny that that has been the effect. That you now control a large sum of money and that you're determined your son won't get one penny of it unless he toes the line. And that is why you're pretending that the assignment was made before any discussion as to your intentions.
It would be very surprising if I didn't now feel determined that my son won't get a penny out of me.
What do you mean by that?
My son has seen fit to accuse me of fraud. Now that isn't very easily forgiven.
Oh, but you'd made your mind up before the beginning of this case. I suggest you decided what to do as soon as you'd spoken to your son on the telephone. And when he and Mr. Plenderbooth came to see you for the first time, you'd already seen the possibilities.
But I had no idea then how much money was involved.
You discussed the mousetrap, didn't you?
Oh, yes, it was mentioned at the second meeting.
Now in its 22nd year, I imagine even a country clergyman would know about that.
I believe the mousetrap is a very different form of entertainment.
Yes, more of a family show. It deals with murder. You were deeply prejudiced against the whole idea of Jesus Baby from the start.
Yes. A person in my position could hardly fail to be prejudiced when the characters of the Bible story are presented as the dregs of society, expressing themselves in a foul-mouthed way to the accompaniment of noises that might have emerged from the lower depths of hell, and as often as not unclothed. Now, do you really expect me to approve of that?
And even before the play was written, you knew that it would be like that.
I prayed that it might not be so.
But you had an intuition that it might.
I hoped my son would respect the faith in which I'd brought him up.
The case of Porter against Porter will be resumed tomorrow in the Crown Court. a third and final day in the case of Porter versus Porter. The plaintiff, pop composer Lance Porter, is claiming a declaration against his father, the Reverend Fortescue Porter, to whom he has assigned the copyright of his musical play Jesus Baby, a rock opera treatment of the Nativity. He claims that his father obtained the assignment by fraud. Yesterday, the Reverend Mr. Porter, vicar of a country parish, denied that before the assignment there was an understanding that he would give the proceeds of the show to Lance if he ever needed it. Mrs. Hazel Harper Frost has just entered the witness box to give evidence on behalf of the vicar.
At the Maltings, Little Walmsley near Fulchester?
Yes, I do.
Do you have any occupation, Mrs. Harper Frost?
I am a widow of independent means.
Do you do any voluntary work?
Oh, good heavens, yes, a great deal. I'm a member of the parish council. I am chairman of the voluntary welfare group. I am also on the Sunday school committee, and I organise outings for the old age pensioners. And then, of course, there's the Conservation Society and the Mothers' Union and the Women's Royal Voluntary...
Thank you, Mrs. Harper Frost. I think that gives us a fair indication of the wide range of your activities. Do you know the defendant in this case, the Reverend Fortescue Porter?
Oh, yes, of course. He's our vicar.
Do these charitable works of yours bring you into much contact with him?
Oh, naturally, but quite apart from that, we're close friends as well.
And do you also know his son, the plaintiff in this case?
Oh, yes, I've known Lancelot since he was a little boy. He used to come and use my piano sometimes. They didn't have one at the vicarage. He played very nicely. Really does seem such a pity.
And what seems a pity, Mrs. Harper Frost?
But that he didn't go on and make something of himself.
But he has, hasn't he?
Well, I suppose he has, but not in what I would call the musical field.
Have you heard his work at all?
Well, one can't avoid it, can one? You know, I really don't understand the BBC playing that rubbish over and over again. You'd think there was enough noise about already with those enormous great juggernauts and things. Do you know that even in my little village...
I do sympathise with you, Mrs. Harper Frost, but for the moment you think we could confine ourselves to the musical noises.
Perhaps, Mrs. Harper Frost, you wouldn't describe Mr. Porter's work as musical.
Oh, I most certainly would not. To one who's been brought up on Beethoven, it's a positive assault on the eardrums.
Did the vicar share these opinions?
Oh, yes, we often talked about it. He was deeply distressed that Lance hadn't taken up the organ. You know, it was dreadful to see him wasting his talents in this way.
Now, when did you first hear that Lance was writing a play about the Nativity?
Oh, the vicar told me. Yes, he said that if the play was to make any money at all, it was all to come to him.
What did you feel about that?
Well, I was delighted, naturally. It couldn't happen to a more deserving man.
Were you at all worried about the play itself?
Oh, well, I did hope that it wouldn't turn out to be peculiar, but, well, the main thing was the money, wasn't it? You know, there are so many deserving causes in the parish, and, well, there's nothing like an unexpected little windfall, is there?
You thought it would be just a little windfall?
But I had no idea of no way at all of knowing that this wretched thing would turn to be such a popular success.
When did the vicar first tell you about the play?
It was in January, the end of January 1971, after the telephone call.
At that stage, was there any discussion between yourself and the vicar as to what he should do if his son did give him the copyright and if it did make any money?
Oh, yes, we discussed whether he should keep any of it for himself or whether it should all go to charity.
You are quite sure of the date of this conversation, the end of January 1971, not early February.
Oh, January, I'm quite sure.
Did you know that Lance Porter visited his father on the 1st of February?
Oh, yes, the vicar showed me what do you call it?
The assignment?
Yes.
When?
February the 4th.
How could you be so precise about these dates, Mrs. Harper Frost?
Oh, well, practice, I suppose. I have so many dates to remember. You see, the voluntary welfare group always met on the 4th of every month, and it was after that meeting. I mean that the vicar and I were having the chat.
You're aware that Lance Porter met his father again in February on the 8th. You're sure it wasn't after the 8th that you were shown the assignment?
Quite sure.
Subsequently, after it had been produced, did you go and see the play?
Yes, I went with my sister Violet. She's very interested in music. She works for a recording company, but I must say that her opinion of the play was exactly the same as mine.
And what was your opinion, Mrs. Harper?
Well, I was deeply embarrassed and outraged. I mean, we all know and love the Bible story, and it was horrible to see it depicted in this way.
What way in particular?
Well, it was the language, for one thing. You know, it really was quite disgraceful and so unnecessary. You should have heard the shepherds.
The shepherds?
The ones who watch their flocks by night. I suppose they were intended to be comical, but... Well, I don't want to go into any details, but really their behaviour was distinctly lewd.
And the music accompanying all this?
Indescribable. My sister Violet, who has a deep musical sensibility, was almost physically in pain.
When did you go and see the play?
It was in January of 1972.
And when you returned to Little Walmsley, did you tell the vicar what you had seen and heard?
Oh, yes, of course. I considered it my duty.
How did he react to your description?
Oh, I think he was very shocked.
Did he say anything to you about the copyright?
Yes, he said he could not possibly keep it for himself.
Was it a long discussion?
Well, it was a very terrible situation. I mean, there was no simple answer. What to do with the copyright?
But in the end, did he say what he decided to do?
Oh, yes. We decided that the copyright should be given to the charity. Previously, he had intended only giving the earnings, the royalties. Right.
Now, let's move on a little to April the 12th of last year. Did you go to the vicarage on that date?
Yes, I did. It was at about tea time. I went to discuss the floral arrangements for the church.
Can you remember who was there?
Oh, yes, I remember it distinctly. There was a large foreign car in the drive, which I presume must have been Lancelot's, and he was in the drawing room talking with his father.
Did you get the impression that it was a friendly meeting?
Oh, no. I could hear loud voices the moment I entered the hallway.
Did you overhear part of the conversation?
Well, I couldn't help it. There was quite a dispute going on between them.
What about?
Well, I heard Lancelot asking his father for some money. The sum of £10,000 was being mentioned, and I heard his father say that he couldn't possibly give him that sum. I believe Lancelot was trying to give the impression that he was starving, but of course I knew that wasn't true.
And did you then go in and join them?
Yes, I did. I think Lancelot was extremely embarrassed. As well he might be. He probably knew that I'd seen the play.
Did you mention it to him at all?
Oh, yes, I did. I most certainly did. I told him exactly what I thought of it.
In roughly the same terms you used to describe it in the court?
Oh, stronger, if anything. I don't mince my words when it comes to a matter of right and wrong. I told him that, in my opinion, it was a thoroughly debased entertainment.
Did he make any reply?
I'm sorry to say that he said something extremely rude.
Yes, well, I don't want to cause you any distress, Mrs. Harperfrost, but could you repeat it to the court?
He said that I was an interfering old bitch. He also said that I had put his father up to it, whatever that was supposed to mean.
I see. And do you consider that you had interfered at all?
Not in the least. As I said, the vicar is a very close friend of mine, and when he asked for my advice, I gave it to him.
And did that advice include any suggestion that he should defraud his son in this way?
Certainly not. And even if I had made such a suggestion, I'm quite certain that he wouldn't have considered it for one single moment. He's not that kind of man.
No. Thank you, Mrs. Harperfrost.
Is that all?
Oh, I expect my learned friend will have a few questions for you.
Oh, yes, of course, yes. Far away.
Mrs. Harperfrost, you said just now that it was the vicar's intention to give the copyright of this debased entertainment, as you called it, to charity.
Yes.
You say that, had you decided that from the very beginning that was the best thing to do?
Yes, I believe I had.
Mm-hmm. Now, you said that we decided. Does that mean that you decided?
Oh, it was the vicar's decision.
But you played some part in it.
Well, as I said, he asked for my advice, and I gave it gladly.
Would you say that the vicar was a man of wide experience in the handling of money?
Oh, no. He doesn't know anything about that kind of thing at all. That's why he asked me.
So, in a sense, you acted as his financial advisor rather as Mr. Plenderbooth acted for my client.
I have nothing whatever in common with Mr. Plenderbooth. I was not trying to make money for myself.
No, I'm not suggesting that you were, but you were determined, weren't you, from the very beginning, as you said, that all the earnings from this play should go to charity.
Yes, that's fair.
And that none of it should get back to Lance.
Well, I wouldn't have objected if he'd really been in need of it. But really, a lot of nonsense has been talked about Lance's financial state. He's trying to pretend that he can't get any work, and it simply isn't true.
Are you basing that observation on the fact that he arrived in what you've described as a large foreign car?
Not entirely, no.
Well, how can you possibly know what my client's financial position is?
Well, all I'm prepared to say is that he's not as badly off as he says he is.
But how can you possibly know that?
Well, I simply do, that's all.
But how? Have you got access to his income tax returns? Are you in the confidence of his bank manager?
There is no need to be sarcastic.
Madam, you come into court and make these unsupported allegations.
Well, if you really want to know, it was my sister Violet who told me.
Your sister Violet?
Mrs. Violet Slingsby. She says it's common knowledge in the musical world that Lance is doing extremely well. Some of the songs that he wrote before this play are still making very good money.
I must say, I got the impression that your sister was interested purely in classical music.
She is personal assistant to the chairman of Music International. They cover a very wide field, and one of their subsidiaries controls Lance's recordings. That's how she knows.
I see. And when did you and your sister first discuss the play Jesus Baby?
First discuss? Oh, I really can't remember.
But she did have that job at the end of 1970 and the beginning of 1971, by which time a good deal of the writing had been done.
Oh, yes, she's been there 8 years.
Do you see each other very often?
Well, no, it's very difficult for her to get away, but she does come and spend weekends with me now and again.
And the fact that the son of your friend the vicar was writing a musical which her firm was publishing would naturally be a topic of conversation.
Well, yes, of course.
So you discussed the play in 1971 whilst it was still being written?
Yes, I believe we did.
Now, your sister, in her privileged position, would probably know something about this project before it was ever performed on the London stage. She may even have heard some of the music. I believe it's common practice for something called a demo disc to be recorded so that backers and managements can have some idea of the show beforehand.
Oh, I don't remember my sister Violet saying anything about having heard the music, no.
Had she already formed an opinion of the play?
Well, I don't think she was very much in favour of it. You know, Violet agrees with me there's quite enough of that kind of thing about already.
What kind of thing is that, Mrs. Harperfrost?
So-called entertainment. It usually means pandering to the lowest taste. Quite bestial, some of it.
Do you go to the theatre very often?
No, I don't.
Then what makes you such an authority on it?
Well, as I said before, I sit on a great many committees, and the members are seriously concerned with what passes for entertainment these days. We've even had occasion to write to the Home Secretary more than once.
After going all the way up to London to expose yourself to this bestiality.
But it's very difficult, isn't it, to know what you're going to see, and by the time one has, it's too late, isn't it?
These committees that you speak of, does the vicar sit on them as well?
Yes, some of them.
And are any of them concerned with the upholding of moral standards?
We are not trying to uphold moral standards, we're trying to bring them back.
The committees whose members had occasion to write to the Home Secretary, was the vicar a member of any of those?
Yes, of course he was.
So you and the vicar must often have discussed the decline, as you saw it, of morality, particularly in the field of entertainment.
But it would have been very strange if we hadn't. It's a subject of concern to all decent people.
And would you say that there was any difference of opinion between you on that subject?
Between the vicar and me? Oh, not at all. We see absolutely eye to eye.
Well, he's not a very regular theatre-goer, is he?
Well, no, good heavens, no. He's far too busy.
And then where does he get his opinions from? I mean, on a particular play or film?
Well, from somebody who has seen it, I suppose.
From a newspaper critic, for example?
Well, I'm sorry to say that they very often like things that I most certainly would not. But even when they are enthusiastic, one can usually tell from their descriptions what kind of a spectacle it is.
So you, for instance, sometimes form an opinion of a show simply from what you've read about it?
Yes.
Or from what you've been told about it by somebody else?
Yes.
Your sister Violet, for example?
If my sister Violet saw something and found it unpleasant, the chances would be that I would dislike it too.
I suggest she expressed that dislike from the very beginning when she first heard about it and that you told the vicar what she'd said.
Well, I may have done, but I really don't see what this has got to do with the case. I mean, the vicar's being accused of fraud.
Yes, but nobody's suggesting that his motives are commercial. The only other possibility is that someone had so poisoned his mind against this project that he conceived the idea of using this unexpected gift, the copyright, as a means of punishing his son.
Oh, that's ridiculous. For what?
You heard him in the witness box. He accused Lance of having perverted the Bible story. He hadn't seen the play himself. He got his information from you, didn't he?
After I'd seen it, yes.
And are you asking the jury to believe that your sister, who must have known all about this project from the very beginning, hadn't expressed the most vehement opinions about it at the very start, and that you had not passed on those opinions to your friend, the vicar?
I did not try to influence his opinions in any way at all. I certainly did not suggest that he should commit a fraud.
Thank you, Mrs. Harperfrost.
Lotterby, have you any further questions of this witness?
No further questions, my lord.
Very well, Mrs. Harperfrost, you may leave the box.
That concludes the case for the defendant.
Go on.
Members of the jury, you will no doubt have been surprised at these allegations of fraud that have been levelled against my client, the Reverend Mr. Porter, especially as no word has been said against his character, nothing to suggest that he is otherwise than an honourable man. Well, of course, the explanation for all of this is quite straightforward. The plaintiff decided to give the copyright of the musical play Jesus Baby to his father as a gesture of goodwill. The play was based, however loosely, on the Nativity, a subject which had been suggested by his father, and it seems the plaintiff mistakenly believed it to be an appropriate gift. Well, a legal assignment was drawn up and the copyright given to my client. And then, unexpectedly, incredibly, the show became a huge success. Well, the copyright was worth a great deal of money which was being used entirely on charitable works. And the plaintiff realized he had made a financial blunder. His gesture had cost him dear. And so he invents this story of a prearranged gentleman's agreement. Well, I suggest to you, members of the jury, that there was no such agreement, that if there had been, it would have been included in the legally drawn-up assignment. I do not believe that either Mr. Lance Porter or his business manager are exactly naive when it comes to such matters. My learned friend has suggested that even before that first meeting on February the 1st, my client had already known the kind of entertainment that this nativity play was going to be. How did he know that he was going to be offended by this play that had not yet been written, let alone performed? Well, my learned friend suggests that Mrs. Violet Slingsby, the sister of Mrs. Harper Frost, because she works for Music International, must have had inside information as to the kind of entertainment Mr. Lance Porter was writing, and that this information was passed on to the vicar. Well, I submit, ladies and gentlemen, that if my client had known what his son's treatment of the nativity was going to be, he would have attempted, to use his own words, to dissuade him from profaning the gospel in this way. Well, I submit that the vicar remained in complete ignorance of the nature of this play until much later, when he read about it in the newspapers, and when Mrs. Harper Frost, having been to see the play, told him her opinions. But at the time of this first meeting, on the 1st of February, he had no idea what it was going to be like. Even Mr. Plenderbooth has said that the plaintiff talked about the play, but the vicar wasn't really listening. Was it conceivable that the vicar was sitting there quietly plotting to defraud his son? It's always distressing when one member of a family takes another to court, and you may think that this action would never have started if the sum involved had been, say, £4,000 or £5,000. The reason why it has been brought in my submission is that Mr. Lance Porter made a gift to his father which turned out to be a great deal more valuable than he had anticipated. And he's determined by any means, fair or foul, to get it back, even if that entails blackening the character of a completely innocent man who was never intended to keep a single penny of this money for himself. It merely remains for you, members of the jury, to decide whether in the original transaction at the time of the letter of assignment the defendant agreed to transfer a portion of the copyright income to the plaintiff. Now, this is the question which is submitted to you, as my learned friend agrees. And I submit that the suggestion of repayment is a fabrication made after the original contract, and that you have no alternative but to dismiss this action.
May it please your lordship, members of the jury, the crucial matter in this case is the opinion the defendant formed of his son's work. Now, let me remind you of his evidence. The very title of the play he found unspeakably distasteful. It was a degraded entertainment. It profaned the gospel. He agreed it was rather like inheriting a brothel. And yet he was able to swallow this odious pill and put it to good use because God moves in a strange way, he said. What he thought of the play, therefore, and what he did with the copyright are not in dispute. The vital question, then, is when did he form these views? Before the gift of the copyright or after? Even he admitted that he had an idea what the play would be like, though he said he prayed it would not be so. I suggest he had more than an idea. Long before the play was produced, at the end of 1970, when it was still being written, he already had inside information about the project from Mrs. Harper Frost's sister Violet, who was working for the publisher of the company. Yes, members of the jury, he had more than an idea of what the play would be like. And though his mind was poisoned by these two women against the project, he was not able to prevent it being produced. So he decided, then and there, to turn it to his own ends. And I suggest that in order to do so, he deliberately misled his son as to his true intentions. Now, my friend has stressed the fact that his client is an upright and honourable man, a man of God, and has asked you to reject the possibility that he lied and is lying as inconceivable. But is it? The vicar has been able to carry out many of his most cherished designs, many good works, and God does, after all, sometimes move in a mysterious way. Now, is there anything improbable about the plaintiff's case, that before making the gift he discussed with his father what his father would do with it? Isn't this what anybody would do? Remember that they all contemplated the possibility that the play might make money. What would be more natural than for a son to express concern to his altruistic father that if the gift were made, his father would not give it all away? All this considered, I submit that there was an agreement between the defendant and the plaintiff at the time of the assignment. An agreement that part of the sum earned by the play Jesus Baby would be awarded to the writer, my client, if he so requested. Members of the jury, whilst I accept that the burden of proof lies on my client, I submit that he has more than discharged it, and I ask you to find for him accordingly.
Now, members of the jury, fraud has a very special meaning. It means obtaining something by a statement of fact, which the person making that statement knew to be false or knew very well that it might be false at the time that he made it. Now, in this case, it is said that the defendant made a false statement as to his intentions, and that the plaintiff was induced by that statement to make the assignment of the copyright. Now, the defense is that the statement as to the defendant's intentions was not made until after the assignment, and second, that that statement was true. Now, you must ask yourselves, as counsel have requested in the agreed question submitted to you, whether the defendant verbally agreed to grant part of the income of the copyright to the plaintiff at the time of the original assignment. Now, it is important for you to remember that the burden of proof is on the plaintiff, Lance Porter, and the proof in civil cases must be established on the balance of probabilities, a much less stringent condition than proof beyond reasonable doubt, which is the standard applied in criminal cases. Now, the upshot of that is that uncertainties must be resolved by you in favour of the defendant. Now, members of the jury, will you kindly retire to consider your verdict?
All stand. Members of the jury, will your foreman please stand? Have you decided answers to the counsel's questions to which you are all agreed?
Yes.
On the first question, was an unwritten agreement entered into by the plaintiff and the defendant that a part of the copyright income be returned to the plaintiff if he so requested?
Yes.
Then the second question, what damages do you award to the plaintiff?
We award possession of the copyright plus the remaining £20,000 as agreed by the charitable trustees, but nothing further.
Lord, in accordance with the jury's answers, I ask that the judgment be recorded for my plaintiff, the client. I am instructed to ask.
Next week, you can join another jury when our cameras return to watch a leading case in the Crown Court.